What's up, guys, and welcome back to MoAn Inc. If you guys are new here, then hello! My name is Erica, and it is a pleasure to have you joining me today on the channel. Because for today's video, as you can see from the title, we are going to be chatting about and summarizing Aristophanes' famous comedy Wasps. But before we can get into that, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you know every single time I post in the future. And now that you've so kindly done that, let's get into the play. The play opens with the scene setting, as every single play ever does. What we can see on stage is the outside of a house. Now, this house, we are told, is in Athens, and the house is partially covered in a net. Now, we do have this sort of like flat rooftop situation on one side of the house. On there is a sleeping man, and just on the regular flooring of the stage, right outside the front door of the house, we have two slaves who are also asleep. Not only is the house partially covered in this net, but also we can see that the doors have been barricaded, the windows have been barricaded, and even the chimney has like a little top on it. So basically from the get-go, we know that there is something in this house that should not be coming out. So all three characters on stage begin asleep. And first we have one of the slaves who stirs and rolls over to wake up the other. Now the first one is called Sosius and the second one is called Xanthias. And Sosius rolls over to wake up Xanthias to basically say, oh my goodness, we've fallen asleep on the job. They both acknowledge that there is something in the house that shouldn't be coming out. They refer to it as like a creature in there. However, both of them are really sleepy, and so they end up falling back asleep pretty much as quickly as they woke up. After a beat of them being asleep again, Xanthias now wakes up and he tries to wake up Sosius. You must be mad for being asleep, Xanthias basically says to Sosius, and Sosius rolls over and he pulls up this like jug of wine and he's like, I'm not mad, I was just asleep because I had a little bit of a friend with me. And Xanthias, in response, he also takes out this wine jug, so they're both kind of like, ha ha ha, great minds think alike. And as we get more into the conversation between the two of them, they start comparing these really odd dreams that they had. Now, these odd dreams do have a lot of political references in them. Something that I won't be doing throughout this summary is explaining the political jokes. And so therefore, if you have the physical copy of the play, they tend to have notes in the back where they explain these things. These dreams, though, have reference to political figures, and not only political figures in name, but also in like the speech pattern that they have. So this sort of back and forth about the dreams would have been funny to the audience. Even if you need to do a little bit of research to figure out why they were funny, the audience would have been giggling throughout this conversation as we kind of get to know these slaves and their perspective of these dreams and what's gone on. Once we hear of these dreams, Xanthias then has the first moment in the play where he turns to the audience and breaks that fourth wall, where he talks to the audience specifically to tell us what we have in store with regards to the show that we are about to watch. He says, now look, I'd better tell the audience what this is all about. Just a few words by way of introduction. You mustn't expect anything too grand from us, but you won't get any crude Megarian stuff either. And I'm afraid that we can't afford a couple of slaves with baskets full of nuts to throw at you. You won't see a Heracles being cheated of his dinner. We're not going to hurl abuse at Euripides, and we don't intend to make mincemeat of Cleon this time, even if he has covered himself in glory lately. No, this is just a little fable with a moral, not too highbrow for you, we hope, but a bit more demanding than the usual knockabout stuff. He then introduces the character who is asleep on that flat part of the roof of the staging, and he says that that is their master, right? So his name, okay, here's a note about the names. The names of the two main characters are very similar. I'm probably going to refer to them the entire time as son and father, just because that really helped me the first time that I read the play. Because the son is called BDELYCLEON, and the father, who we will meet in a hot second, is BDELYCLEON. So the son is the guy who's asleep. And now bear in mind where he's sleeping again is untouched by the net. The net is around the house itself, not around the guy. So Xanthias explains that this is the master and that they are outside because they are there to guard the guy, the creature, who is inside. Now the man who's inside is the son's father. Okay, so like I said, BDELYCLEON is his name. And he has a really bad disease we hear of. Now, between the back and forth of the slaves, we do have Sosius try and guess what this disease is. And The outcome of the conversation is that we hear from Xanthias the disease that has plagued the father, and the reason why he's locked in the house is because he is a trialophile. Now, what is a trialophile? I know that you guys have read that and you guys all heard me say that and gone, what? Yeah, so apparently a trialophile is somebody who is just obsessed, addicted to going to the law courts and acting as a juror. So that's what this man has, that he is so addicted to being a juror, according to Xanthias. This guy wakes up with his hands in this position, with his fingers basically like acting as if they're clutching his voting pebble. This was the thing that you would have done in like ancient Athenian law courts to vote. You have like 2 urns and you put your pebble into it. And so that's how addicted he is, that his hand is like permanently in this position, even in his sleep. We are told that the son has done everything to try and get his dad the appropriate help so that he doesn't feel like he has to be a juror like every single day and every single moment of his life. But with all of the regular treatment plans, those don't seem to work. Anytime he tries to tell his dad not to do something, his dad wants to do it even more. And every time they try doing a regular treatment for this kind of addiction, this trialophile issue that he has, it just backfires massively, and it doesn't seem to help, which is why they have resulted in just locking him in the house, because that way when people come to like rouse him up, like the other jurors show up to try and get him to go to court, if he's locked in the house, then he physically cannot go. And this is the final thing that they are trying, because nothing else has helped with the addictive personality of BDELYCLEON's dad. Now, even though they've locked him in the house, even though they've done that, you guys, we are told that he has tried to get out every way he possibly can. So he has not only tried to pop out through the chimney. Okay, yeah, he's that desperate. He's also tried to crawl out through the drains. He has tried to come out through waste pipes. He's also even at one point tried to hammer holes in the courtyard wall as an attempt to leave the grounds, like completely. I mean, he is out of control maniac. And as the slaves are giving us all of this context, we then have BDELYCLEON, the son, who is asleep. He now wakes up. And his head is to the house, right? And so he can kind of hear that there is rummaging inside and all of this. And that is when he gets the attention of the slaves and he goes, hey, my dad's awake. I can hear him. He's in the kitchen. So I need you guys to take your position because he's going to try and get out some way, somehow. Someone's got to be on the front door. Someone's got to go around the other side because he might try and get out through the waste pipe in the kitchen. So Sosius takes it upon himself to come up this outside staircase that's on the house. So he runs up that way to try and watch the waste pipe on the other side. And we have Xanthias who stands guard by the door. And as everyone is taking their spots, we then see a little head pop up from the chimney. Now there is a cover on the chimney, so when the head comes through, it takes the cover with it. And the son is standing there and he walks up to where his dad's head is. And he's like, what is this coming out of the chimney? And his dad hilariously says, I am a puff of smoke. Thinking that that's gonna work. And obviously the son just like pushes his head down. It's like, absolutely not. Like, get back in the house. And this starts a hilarious physical comedy, basically cat and mouse scene where you have the dad who is popping up in multiple different places trying to get out. After he comes back down from the chimney, we then see that he's trying to open the front door and he's like banging against the front door. Xanthias asks for backup, and so the son runs down the outside staircase in order to like help him hold on to the door so that this maniac inside doesn't break out. And from the other side of the door, we can hear the dad saying, you have to let me out because I have really good reasons for being let out. And obviously Xanthias and the son are like, okay, tell us these fabulous reasons. One of them is that he went to the oracle at Delphi, apparently. And the oracle told him that if he wasn't at the court every single day to judge people, and if he wasn't there to ensure that men were not acquitted of their crimes, then he would wither away and die. Which obviously Xanthias and us and the son, none of us buy this. This is ludicrous. And they're like, yeah, I'm sure that the oracle said that to you. He then says that he needs to be let out for 2 other reasons. One of them is that he'll explode if he's left inside. And obviously, again, the slave and the son are like not buying this. And the last one is that he needs to be let out of the house because if he's not, he will be forced to gnaw, like to bite through the net that is over the house. Now Xanthias replies brutally, and he goes, mate, you don't even have any teeth. Go ahead, give it a go. Which then leads to our final excuse, and that is that he needs to be let out of the house because they have a donkey. They have like a family donkey. It is currently the first of the month, and so he wants to go down to the market to sell it. And this is the first thing that actually stops both Xanthias and the son in their tracks. And the son is kind of like, actually, that does make sense. So I will come in, I will get the donkey, and I will sell the donkey. We're not letting you out, but you do make a very good point that today is market day and we should probably do that. So he goes into the house. And when he goes into the house, this donkey will not move. We get the donkey out of the house, but the donkey won't move very far. It seems very reluctant to move. And that is when we realize, and also when the son realizes, that his dad has locked himself onto the underside of the donkey, like Odysseus, right? And that's actually referenced in the text, that he's locked himself underneath him, like Odysseus with the sheep, with the Cyclops episode. If you guys haven't watched my Odysseus series, now would be a good time to read that to understand this joke, because it is funny. It is clever. And so we have the son who kneels by the dad and is like, what do we have here? Who are you? And the dad literally goes, I am no man. Such a good Odysseus reference. And obviously the son is like, no way. And he pushes the donkey and the dad back into the house. Now that the two of them are left alone on stage, the son looks at Xanthias and he basically says, we've got to even re-barricade the house. We need to make sure that there is not only wood up against the door, but also he wants to stack stones. He wants a giant mortar to be rolled in front of them. And as Xanthias, in front of the doors, not in front of the people. I realized how that sentence sounded. But he wants all of this stuff done to strengthen the security of the house because his dad is already crazy, but he's slowly losing his mind even more. And as Xanthias is taking mental notes of this, he's distracted because there's dirt that's falling on his head. And both of them are where is this dirt coming from? And when they look up, the psychopath of a dad is trying to get through the roof tiles. That's how desperately, I need to remind everyone, he desperately wants to leave the house to go to be a juror in court. And now he is literally ruining the roof of his house in order to get out so that he can just get to the courthouse. It's mental. It is so funny to read this back and forth. And so obviously the two of them are like, shit, never mind our conversation. And they go up to push again the head down into the house and replace the roof tiles on this spot. Xanthias, though, remember we met him and he was asleep and then he woke up and then he was asleep again. This man is still very sleepy. So he turns to his master, he turns to the son, and he's kind of like, now that we've done that, can I go take a nap? Is that okay? To which obviously we're going to get a no, right? We know that we're going to get a no, but the reason why we get a no from the son, from BDELYCLEON, is specifically because the time of day that it currently is, they know that the other jurors are going to show up at the house and they're going to try and lure this guy out of the house. They're going to try and lure his dad out of the house. This is what they do every single day. They show up, they're like, hey, you should come to the courthouse. And BDELYCLEON from inside the house tries to escape. So he's like, now is not the time to take a nap. I actually need all hands on deck because when these people show up, we need to make sure that we are ready to ensure that my dad doesn't leave the house, to ensure that we are ready for them to come so that we can try and deal with the addict behavior. In response, Xanthias suggests that they should just actually gather a bunch of stones and they should start throwing them when they can see the other jurors approaching, so that way they won't actually get to the house. If they are throwing enough stones, they'll be like, we're under attack, and then they'll leave, and then Xanthias can go and take a nap quicker. Right? He's only thinking about his sleep schedule, which honestly, I respect. I think that's such king energy coming from this slave, 10 out of 10. So he suggests that, and in response, BDELYCLEON says that that's a really dumb choice because not only will they have to have a bajillion stones, but also if they had to throw stones at the jurors, he says it would be like throwing stones at a wasp's nest. Okay, so something that you guys should know, all of Aristophanes' plays, they are named after the chorus. So this is why we are told that it's called Wasps, okay? So he says we can't do that because of X, Y, and Z. And in response to that, Xanthias is like, that's fine, we'll just gather way more stones than we need. Again, only thinking about his sleep schedule. And he's like, you think this is a problem? It won't be. You've left it with the right man. So after we've had this back and forth of we could just have enough stones, then we can all nap and all of this, and BDELYCLEON's like, no, we can't go back to sleep. Like, that now is not the time. They do both fall asleep, right? So they both fall asleep on stage, despite what they've said. And that is when we start hearing this like buzzing from offstage, and the chorus enter the scene. The buzzing noise turns to chatter when the chorus actually get on stage, and each member of the chorus is led on by their son, right? So by a boy. They are being led on, and the chorus are dressed up as wasps, right? So as literal wasps, stingers and everything. So they would have been really funny just to look at. And not only did they dress up like wasps, and they're boys, by the way, so like the boys who were leading them on stage, they all were holding like really dull lamps. But not only this, all the wasp costumes are then covered by like jurors' cloaks. So they literally would have looked absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous. It would have been very funny just to have them stand on stage, let alone speak. The first person to speak is the chorus leader, and he just starts encouraging all the members of the chorus directly. So he actually says most of their names, he calls to them, and he is telling them basically that they were all really tough and young once, and now they have to be just as tough and young because they need to get their friend out of the house because he's under lock and key. So their solution to this is that they're going to sing. They're going to lure him out, they're going to sing to him, and he's going to love the song so much that he'll be like, I must come out and come to the jurors' court with you thing. You guys know what I mean. That was like a really bad sentence, but hey. We're going to go like full siren here is the plan. Now, as they are doing this, their song is about how weird it is that they are like incomplete without the dad in the house, without BDELYCLEON. So they basically sing about that, and they're like, we would be complete and we would feel much better if you were here with us. And as they're singing this, the chorus leader's son like turns to him and he's like, hey, I really want a fig. Like, he just turns to his dad and is like, I would love a fig. And the dad is like, I get paid a certain amount of money. I've got to feed not only you, but the entire family. Figs are spenny, senor. Like, what do you mean you want a fig? And the son is like, that's okay. I'm just going to go home, find a fig on the way home. And before he leaves, though, really random scene, but before he leaves, BDELYCLEON comes to the window, and the dad, he's just looking out at them, and he says how much he yearns to join them. Oh, this is his calling in life, and he can hear their voices and knows that they are going to the court, and he wants nothing more than to go to the court with them. The chorus then question why he's locked up in the house. They want to know, they want him to come down and join them. And initially, the dad is kind of like, oh, I can't really tell you why I'm locked up in the house. That's like for me and my family to know. And obviously the chorus are like, but we're your friends. You should tell us all the details. And so the dad rats out his son and is like, my son has locked me up in here. It's really sad. He thinks that I'm diseased and that I'm ill. Hello, sir, have you ever heard snitches get stitches? Now, the chorus then, because they don't realize that they're just enablers, right? So they start hatching ways of like how they can get him out of the house. They're kind of like, you know, we're here to help and all of this. And the dad is sort of pointing to the characters on stage, explaining who everybody is, explaining where they are, you know, like, this is my son, this is his slave, blah, blah, blah. And so they come up with ways to get him out of the house. And how do they decide to get him out of the house? Yeah, they also land on the theory that he's just going to bite himself free of the net. Again, with what teeth? With what teeth? Apparently he doesn't have any. But because everybody's asleep, he has some time. So from the window, he pulls the net, and with the little teeth that he does have, he manages to make a hole big enough. Well, he manages to break a little bit off, and then he pulls a hole big enough, I should really say, to get his shoulders through. Okay, so he actually gets through the net as everybody's asleep on stage. From the window, he throws out a rope, and before he starts descending from the rope, he does say to them, like, what happens if my son wakes up? What happens if the slaves wake up? All of this kind of stuff. And the chorus do say, you know, don't worry, we got your back. You just start descending. We'll take you to court, kind of a thing. If anything happens, we got it covered on the ground. And so the dad starts descending from this rope. And naturally, because this is a play and because we need action to continue, his son and Xanthias wake up at the same time. Sosius has left the stage. I did not mention that, but he's off stage now. Anyways, Xanthias and the son wake up, and Xanthias initially looks up and he sees the dad and he just goes, holy shit. Not an exact quote. The son jumps into action and he tells Xanthias to climb up the rope to try and meet his dad like halfway up the rope, but to then whack him with, and I quote, a harvest wreath. Unlike before, that is an exact quote. And so therefore, Xanthias is like, aye, captain, I got this. He grabs his little harvest wreath, readily available, of course, and he starts a climbing. And as he starts climbing, the son goes into the house. We see him run to the window. And when he gets to the window, because now bear in mind, the dad is in the middle of the rope, right? So when he gets to the window, he starts tugging on the rope. So on top, we've got the tugging of the rope. And from the bottom of the rope, we've got Xanthias whacking the dad with this harvest wreath. It is absolute mayhem on this stage. Like, even as you read this play, you've just got to try and picture what this would be like in the audience. And it's got to be nothing but madness, genuinely. The chorus then, to add to the madness, they decide to come in now and save the dad, right? Like, now it's a little bit too late in my opinion, but regardless of that, now is the time that they step in. And before they actually get like all their fighting gear ready to go, fighting gear. Okay, remember, these are jurors. These are old jurors. They do turn to all the boys on stage and they tell them to leave so that they can go and get help. So all the boys run off stage and the chorus, who are dressed like wasps with big stingers, they start being like, we're gonna fight for you, BDELYCLEON, we got you. They start making noises like wasps, right? So they're like buzzing and it's getting like louder and louder. And the son from where he is at the window just kind of turns to them and is like, hey, can you like stop that buzzing? It's really annoying. And the chorus are like, we're gonna buzz all we want. Buzz, 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 buzz. Because we're all really mature in this play. As the chorus get closer, Xanthias drops down from the rope, and from above him, the dad drops down as well onto the staging. Now, when the two of them are together, Xanthias actually grabs the dad and uses him as like a human shield in between him and the chorus because he wants nothing to do with these guys whatsoever. And all it takes is the chorus leader saying to Xanthias, let him go! And Xanthias does. Like, he just goes, oh, yeah, sure, I didn't think of that, and just lets the dad go. And the dad starts to, like, he doesn't, like, race off stage, but he starts to move in the direction of freedom. And as he does this, the chorus then start attacking Xanthias. Because, again, they are enablers. Like, none of them actually care about this man if he is addicted to the law courts. They're like, we just want him with us. So we have a literal fight break out, because also the sun comes down. So there's a bit of like a tussle, like back and forth with everyone on stage. As this is going on though, the son, as he's running down to deal with the fight, he calls out to his other slaves in the house and tells them to come out and to grab the dad, which they do. So even though there is this fight scene, the dad doesn't actually escape to freedom. He does not get to the law courts. He is then held, he's seized by these extra 3 slaves. And the chorus are then beaten back because the son brings out a bunch of these like flaming torches to literally beat back the chorus to get away from the house. The son then tries to come up with some sort of like peace deal between him and the chorus in order to get his dad back and so that the chorus will stop returning to the house, because he's trying to explain to them, my dad's really sick. Like, he has an addiction to this. We're trying to help him. We need you to not come here every day so that we can sort him out, kind of a thing. And the chorus want nothing to do with this. They keep saying no, and they keep saying that he's like a bad son and all this kind of stuff because they're like, you're not letting him do what he wants. So we then have the son say something that I thought was quite interesting, so I just want to read it out to you. And he looks at the chorus and says, it's always tyranny and conspiracy with you people, isn't it? However trivial the offense, the charge is the same. The word tyranny hasn't been heard in Athens for 50 years, and now it's suddenly become as common as pickled fish. You can't even walk through the market without having it flung at you. And these people, and he points to the chorus in the audience, lap it all up. Just because I want my father to give up leading the life of a miserable, prying, litigious, early morning stirrer and live like Mauricus, I'm accused of being a conspirator and a monarchist. In response to this, his father says that he doesn't actually want to stop being a juror. And he says that that's the key, that his son is overstepping because he's very happy being a juror. This is his happy place, this is what he wants to do. And so the son looks directly at his dad and says, okay then, what do you get personally from this? Tell me, and maybe I'll leave you alone. Before his dad can reply, he says that he wants to be unseized. That's definitely not a word, but he wants to be released by the 3 slaves that are currently holding him. And so the son grants him that. And he also asks if he can be given his sword from inside the house. Reason being is because when he explains his reasoning for what he personally gets from being a juror, if he is to fail in convincing his son that he should go and do this thing, then he wants to have the sword so that he can fall on it. So there's that. He's like very, very dramatic, essentially. That is also granted to the dad, and the son actually calls one of his slaves to go back into the house to get all of his writing gear, so that way as the dad makes his case and says what he gets out of being a juror, that the son is going to list it all, essentially, so that he can like review it, okay? That's what they're gonna do. And so everybody's like, cool, cool, cool. And the writing stuff is brought to the son, and they basically have a makeshift trial. So when we have the writing stuff that is brought out, we then have the dad who presents his reasoning for why he loves this so much. Number 1, the dad says that he feels happy, pampered, and fortunate as a juror. He says that he feels important having his existence validated by strangers who are the losers in his eyes, right? So the people who are going to lose the court, they still see him as being very, very important, and that makes him feel on top of the world. His son makes note of this. Number 2 is that the dad says when he takes his juror's seat, he feels powerful. Now, this is hilarious because the response that is written down, I had to write down these exact words because this is a very long moment in the play where he's like describing where the power is coming from and what he feels it. And when the son makes note of this, he writes, and I quote, "Make mere wealth look silly." The third reason the dad loves being a juror is because he says that jurors cannot be held accountable after a trial. So regardless of what they decide, they are not held to it. It is not seen as their responsibility, and instead it falls on the magistrates. So therefore, though people think that magistrates have the real power, it really belongs to the jurors because they can make all these decisions, and then those decisions don't actually weigh on them after the trial. Further than that, he says that if the council and the assembly can't make big decisions by themselves, they can't come to a unanimous vote, then they go to the jurors next rather than the people. So we can hear that there is a lot of this idea of power coming through, and the chorus actually applaud all of these reasons, right? They completely agree with him. Clearly, they are all hooked up on the idea of having just a tad bit of authority. Just a little bit of authority is what they are all loving about this job. As the chorus are applauding, that is when we have the son stand up. Okay, he clears his throat, he has his notes, he stands up as if he's an orator. Again, this is supposed to be funny because they have like a mock trial going on. And when he stands to speak, he is ready to go, and his dad just says, "All right, son, convince me that I'm a slave being a juror." And the son literally, and I quote him when I say that he says, "Okay, daddy dearest." An icon! The first point that the son makes is actually not to directly attack any of the points that his dad made. It's really to just kind of fill in the blanks of things that his dad didn't mention. So, for example, he says, it's a job that I get paid to do, which is also something that's great because it means that, like, the dad says this, that it means that he doesn't have to rely on his son, who is now a man that could technically provide for him. He's still, in his old age, really dependent on himself. And the son comes back with this and he just says, okay, well, let's talk about money then. And let's talk about how much money you really make if you think you have all of this power and you think you have a good income. He does a lot of maths in this speech. A lot more maths than I am qualified to do. Somebody who hasn't done maths since GCSE. Questionable. But anyways, he does a lot of maths and he basically explains that the 10% of the national income that comes into the Athenian government body, less of that is given to the jurors. So even though he thinks he's very important, where is the rest of the money going? Right? Valid question. And also the dad thinks this is really valid because the dad is like, is that maths correct? And the son is like, yeah, it is correct. And guess where the rest of the money is going? To the people who have more power than you. The magistrates that you just shat on, they're the ones getting the bulk of the money. He uses that to say that surely that is a form of quote-unquote slavery. Obviously, remember, Xanthias is Xanthias is an actual slave. And we're just using that as to show him that the job isn't as good as he thinks it is. So he says basically that is a form of quote unquote slavery because the people at the top of the totem pole are getting paid the most, and they're giving essentially the scraps to the jurors who are doing most of the hard work. Like, the magistrates are not sitting in court every day, the jurors are, and yet the jurors get paid this much in comparison. The dad does try and argue back with a number of different things. However, he's not really successful in any of this because the son is really raring and ready to go. And in particular, something that the dad tries to say is that they are more powerful than the son believes. Like, he's trying to really like go off of that. And the son says that they are, as jurors, under the thumbs constantly of the magistrates, and they are to be kept under the thumb of the magistrates. So even though he thinks he has all of this power, it's basically just all in his head. And the son says something really interesting, actually, where he says to his dad, "I'll tell you why. They're training you to know the hand that feeds you. Then, when the time comes, they let you loose on some enemy or other. Go on, good dog, bite him. That's the way." If they really wanted to give the people a decent standard of living, they could do it easily. Instead of which, you have to queue up for your pay like a bunch of olive pickers. And as you can imagine, for the man that has thought that he has had the ultimate power, that thinks that he has outsmarted a system, he's like going through it, okay? He is totally shocked when this bomb is dropped on him. The chorus actually tell the dad to just give in. They're like, "Pack it in, mate. This guy's got a really good argument. We got it on his side." So the dad, in a wonderfully overly dramatic way, which is again comical, he lets out this ridiculous wail and says that he wants nothing more than to be sitting as a juror. That is all he wants in life. But because his son has argued so well, he is left with the only option of falling on his own sword, because that's how we started this whole makeshift trial anyway. So he's like, "Unfortunately, I have not done a good job, and therefore I must fall, I must die. I am not supposed to be here anymore." More importantly than that, he says with this idea that has come to light, he would actually much rather fall on his sword than sit on a juror's bench again, even though it is what his soul wants to do, right? He literally says that his soul was like meant to be on a juror's bench, and so therefore he should die because he can't stand a life not being on the juror's bench. But in light of all of this, he doesn't want to be on a juror's bench. He's really, like, emotionally he's having a moment, okay? This man has just been hit with a lot of facts, and he is not handling them well. And in fact, he drops his sword. He's just, like, so overwhelmed by all of this. And the son, like, walks over and, like, very subtly removes the sword. Is like, "Okay, we're gonna put this over here." To try and make this a bit of a lighter moment, the son just basically says that he doesn't have to stop being a juror altogether, that actually they can make their household like a juror's place, a courtroom. That's what I was trying to say. To try and calm down the situation, the son says to his dad that what they can do is they can try and turn the household into a courtroom, essentially. That he says he doesn't have to give up, his dad doesn't have to give up judging cases altogether. It's just going to the courthouse is the problem, right? Like, he's totally addicted to going there. Now he's having a meltdown about not wanting to go there because he's being cheated and lied to, and it's all a false identity of authority kind of a thing. And so the son says that they can basically start trying people in the house instead, so that he can still get that rush without actually going to the courtroom. And the dad is kind of confused by this. He's like, "What do you mean? How am I supposed to judge people within the household?" And so the son suggests that when, you know, something goes wrong, maybe a slave messes up or whatever happens to be, they can have like a court case for that, and they can make it fun in that kind of a way. And the dad actually really likes the sound of this. But obviously a big part of their conversation was money and getting paid, and how he felt slightly, well, not slightly, he felt independent from his son. And so he says, "Well, who's going to pay me for doing this? Because when I go to the courthouse, I get paid, obviously, in order to do that." And the son says, "Well, I'll pay you. If it really makes that much of a difference to you, I will pay you for being a juror of the household." And the dad is like, "Actually, I really like the sound of this." And the son is like, "Cool, let me go inside and fetch all of our stuff so that we can start like right away. Put this to the test, give it a go." We then have a bit of a political sort of like like Athenian commentary moment, essentially, where we have the dad who has now been left on stage, and he says that the words of the oracle are coming true because he heard from the oracle that at some point in history, all of the Athenians would end up having their own sort of lay of their individual land. So they would have their own rights and their own laws for each household, and they could do that, right? So he's sort of like, wow, this is amazing. Look at what the oracle has said, and now we're building this court case. We're building a courthouse even at home. We're building a court room at home, and I can judge people this way. We are now just fulfilling the prophecy. And as he's saying that, we have the son who comes out of the house, and there are several slaves in tow, and they're all bringing different furniture to set up this like mock courtroom. When everything has been set up to the son's liking, he then shuffles all of the slaves off stage. They all leave so we can see they have like benches. They even have like a wooden cockerel cage as well has been brought on, kitchen utensils, all of this kind of stuff to make this mock courtroom. And when they are all happy with it and the slaves leave, the son turns to his dad and is like, what more could you want than this? And the dad is like, nothing, this is amazing. So the son says that once they take their seats, they can bring the first person forward who is going to be tried by them officially in the house courtroom. However, the dad says that they can't bring anybody forward because they don't have a bar of which people are going to walk up to. And obviously the son is like, oh wait, that's like a really good point. We actually don't have one of those. And so the dad runs into the house to go and get something that could sort of make a makeshift bar. And as he goes in, we kind of hear all of this like scuffling, and we hear all of clutter, basically, things that are going on in the house. And when the dad emerges, we also have Xanthias who emerges holding a kitchen knife. And obviously the son and the dad are like, what's going on? That's a lot. Xanthias explains that there's a dog that has eaten this piece of Sicilian cheese. And he's like eaten all of the Sicilian cheese, and that's like not good. And so the son is like, great, he will be our first trial. The dog will be the first trial. Bring him out here. And like I said, the dad has emerged on stage, and the dad for the bar brings out this like pig pen. And he lines that up and is like, done, sorted out the bar. So when the dad then sits down, he's like, great, now we're all ready. Let's get this show on the road. The son is like, oh no, wait, we totally can't because we haven't got the notice boards ready. You can't have a trial without the notice boards and the charge cards. Oh, this would just be ludicrous. And so he then goes into the house to go get those. He does return quite quickly with 2 wooden dishes, which he hangs up as if they are the notice boards. And then he has this like wad of just like random paper, which are going to be the charge cards. And he brings those over and he sits down. The dad then is like, okay, bring the first case forward. And literally as the son is like, for sure, let's get this show. No. The dad is like, oh my God, wait, I'm so dumb. I forgot the urns. We need those for voting. But luckily this time, the son is like, oh, don't worry, we don't need those. And he picks up 2 ladles, because I mentioned that they brought out a bunch of like kitchen utensils. So he brings out 2 ladles from this pile, and he says that they can just use those as like the voting things. There's a couple more of these moments where they kind of point to things on stage being like, no, I've thought of that. No, I've thought of that. Like, don't worry about it. And so they kind of agree that everything's been handled. And so now they are ready for the first case. Oh, no, they're not. I lied. Actually, they've got to make offerings to the gods. They've got to pour out libations. So that is done first. A slave comes out, helps them with that. And then they're ready for the first case. So what is the first case? I just mentioned that it's a dog, right? Who ate all of the Sicilian cheese. So the slaves bring out 2 dogs. One is the one is the plaintiff and one is the defendant. I can't even say this with a straight face. But essentially what happens is that they proceed to have a literal court case of these 2 dogs because of this cheese incident. So we go through the entire thing. We watch these 2 dogs not say a goddamn word. And we see the son and the dad take this with the utmost seriousness. It is so freaking funny. Seriously, if you have not read this play and you're like using this to study, you need to just read this part of it. Just this scene will make you cackle. It's so good. At one point, they even put the dog on the stand, and both the son and the dad are like, how strange that he now has nothing to say. He doesn't want to defend himself. Oh, I think that says a lot about him. Like, It's just ludicrous. So at the end of this, they get everybody who's on stage to vote, right? So they get everybody to put their little voting things in the ladles, right? And so they have everybody vote, and they find that the dog who ate the Sicilian cheese is actually acquitted. Crazy. I know, the dog didn't say a goddamn thing, but people are like, we're just like not. We're just not gonna do this with this dog. And the dad is so shocked by this. Remember what he said earlier where he was being overly dramatic? Because he has not worked a court case where somebody has been acquitted. And he said that whole like weird thing where he's like, the oracle told me that if I am to not go to the courthouse, then a man will be acquitted. And if a man is acquitted, then I will like die, basically. I will like wither away and it will be very dramatic, blah, blah, blah. That's why I need to be a juror. So to have a dog get acquitted, he goes through it all over again. He collapses. He is questioning everything. I mean, this man is not having a good day. He literally asks, just sort of out loud, generally, if the dog really was acquitted. His son is like, yeah, he really was. And the dad is like, then I am no more. The son essentially just calls his dad dramatic. And he's like, seriously, don't worry. Like, I'm here to take care of you. I don't know why we're being like this. And the dad just immediately straightens up, even though he feels this sense of shame that like he lost this. He immediately straightens up and he's like, okay, if you say so. And then the son brings him into the house. End scene. So the slaves clear away this like makeshift courtroom. The chorus then come into the middle of the stage and they give us a little speech song moment. This speech, honestly, is not really necessary for the summary purpose of this video. If you guys need to read it, then you can obviously just go to the text and read it because it's quite long and it's quite political. There's also another moment, again, of these characters, the chorus leader in particular, speaking directly to the audience. He has a moment which is not political, where he kind of calls out the audience. He does call out the audience. He's like speaking on behalf of the poet. And he says that Aristophanes wrote them a really good play. And last time he wrote them a really good play, they failed him, right? They didn't laugh. They weren't there for him. They didn't vote for him. And so this chorus leader basically says, when a poet gives you something that's this good, you should reward them for it. I mean, it's quite savage. It is quite savage, but that's how it starts off. And then it kind of goes, and then it kind of goes a bit more political. So if you guys need that, you can obviously read it, but you don't really need to know it for the purpose of a summary. However, as this is happening, 2 couches have been placed outside the house. So in the chorus finish, we then have the dad come out and take a seat. The son comes out literally like hot on his heels, and he tries to keep his dad standing to get this cloak that his dad is wearing off of him. His dad has put on his jury cloak, and he doesn't, the son does not want this thing on him for multiple reasons. One, we have found out that he is a trialophile, so therefore he really shouldn't be wearing the cloak. But also, the son is trying to replace the cloak with, why was I about to say throat? God, it's that Wicked effect. No, he's trying to get this ball gown. No, just a gown on his dad instead. And so there's a bit of a tussle of a back and forth where he's trying to get this cloak off the dad in order to replace it with the gown, and the dad does not like the gown. Now, since the son is trying to physically get this cloak off of his dad, there is a slave on stage that's holding the gown, which they're going to replace the cloak with. And it's literally like a whole page and a half of dialogue where they're trying to convince each other. The dad is basically saying that gown's really ugly. Here's why it's really ugly and I'm not going to wear it. And the son is like, you need to get this cloak off of you because you need to wear the gown. And then not only does he have to wear the gown, but then there are also matching shoes to the gown, which he's being like, hey, you should wear this outfit instead. And the dad is like, no. Now, slowly, the dad does give in. He eventually does take off the cloak. He then does put on the gown itself. And as the gown comes on to the dad, he starts to... Sorry about that. He does start to warm to his new outfit. He is like, you know what? I kind of feel a little bit good in this. So why is the outfit change happening, right? This is where we find out that there's a party that's going on and the son wants to bring the dad to the party because now that he's not doing his whole jury thing, he's got to like acclimatize to regular life, okay? And part of that is going to a drinking party. This is a huge part of ancient Greek life. And so now that he's got the new outfit on, because he couldn't go to the party in the juror's cloak, right? Obviously he was like, that is like not gonna go over well. You're gonna look like a loser in that. So he's now got his little party fit on. And the son basically says, okay, we're going to practice how to go about being at a party. So we have this very long scene where the son is basically coaching his dad in like, he needs a personal anecdote. He needs to have an interesting story. And if somebody asks him about him, what is he going to say? Like, basically teaching him how to socialize. And the dad is exceptionally bad at this. This is what we learn throughout this scene, right? Now that we've come over his addiction and he's trying to get back into regular life, we see probably why he hasn't been successful in getting back into regular life, because he's not a conversationalist whatsoever. But despite how painfully funny, despite how painful this scene is, the son decides that his dad is ready to go to the party. He's like, whatever, this is as good as it's going to get. Let's go. And so they pack up their stuff and they start to go to the party. And as they're like stepping off stage, the son is like, let's go get drunk. And the dad is like, I don't approve of situations where people get drunk because I know what drunkenness leads to. It leads to craziness and revelry, and I don't accept any of that. I don't like any of that. And the son basically tells his dad to like calm down. He's like, we're going to go to the party and we're going to have a good time. Okay? And the dad is like, okay. So they leave the stage along with Xanthias, who's going to walk them to the party. This leaves the chorus on stage again, and they have a little jig and a song, and the chorus leader, again, speaks for Aristophanes. If you need any of those details, you can go and read the text, but you don't need them for a summary purpose. And as this is happening, we see time pass, right? So time passes, and it's now early evening-ish. Well, it's like dark outside, but it's like not too late, because there are people in this scene, so it's not too late. Like, people aren't like asleep or anything. But it is like early evening when they come back. And as the scene opens and the chorus filter out, Xanthias comes on and stops them walking away. He is like rubbing himself. He is clearly in a bad mood. And the chorus are like, whoa, why are you supposed to be at a party? What's happened? And he tells the chorus, and therefore us, that it was fine. And then the dad got blisteringly drunk. And now it's not fine. We're told that he was drunker than anyone else at the party. And although this started off being fine, like there was a bit of a back and forth with another guest, but everybody laughed at that. And there were moments where the dad was jumping up and he was laughing and he was kind of putting on a show and people found that okay. He just kept drinking. Don't we all know that person? Haven't we all been on a night out with that person? Haven't we all once or twice been that person? That you're just like, that was the sweet spot. And you just kept going. And that's essentially what happened to the dad. He's clearly not used to drinking all that much. And so he just keeps going. And everything that he says just gets like worse and worse. And people like now aren't having a good fun time with him. And so that's what Xanthias says, where he says he just kept getting too drunk. And now we're in the situation that we're in. So Xanthias wants to avoid talking to the dad, and so he runs actually into the house. And as he runs into the house, we then have the dad walk on stage, and he's holding, not like, you know, off the ground, but he's got his arm around this flute girl that clearly he's abducted from the party, right? So that's how he's walking on. The flute girl like doesn't look terrified. I don't want anyone to think that this is like a horrible scene. It's just more so like he didn't leave with the flute girl from his house. The flute girl was clearly at the party and now he's with the flute girl. So you're like, okay. In fact, as he's approaching his house, there is like a reveler that comes on stage as well and basically tells the dad that he's going to pay for this and blah, blah, like he's acted inappropriately. And the dad just says, get lost. And the reveler does get lost. And then the dad turns to the flute girl and says, I'm going to pay for your freedom because then you can be my mistress. Har, har, har. Gross, gross, gross. And as he's saying this, the son runs on stage and he's like, Dad, did you steal the flute girl from the party? The dad plays dumb. He just is like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what girl? Where? Oh my goodness. And the son basically says that he's too old for this kind of behavior. He's like, this is the behavior of a child. We were just there at a party. Like, you can't be stealing workers from parties like that flute girl. Like, that's not okay. And the dad hits him. To top it all off, we hear how much mayhem has been caused by this old man going to the party because a baking woman shows up. Like, she's literally called Baking Woman, right? So she's a baker. And she shows up and she says that the dad has been so rude that he like pushed her. And so she like staggered around with a bunch of her loaves that ended up falling off. And so she actually lost 14 loaves. She says that when he pushed her, she was holding 10 loaves. Well, I mean, she says that she dropped 10 loaves and then she dropped 4 more. So I don't know if there were like 4 different attacks or if it was like one attack and she lost 14 loaves. But either way, lots of bread was lost when she encountered this guy. And she is not happy. Okay, when this woman comes on stage, she's a queen, in my opinion. She literally says, I will not allow any man to treat me this way. Like, yes, say it louder. Obsessed with her. Now, when she's talking about the dad pushing her, she actually explicitly tells us that it was done with this torch that he was holding. Okay, so he's not even like handsy with her. He's almost prodding her like an animal. She doesn't say that last part, but like it's with a stick, it's with a torch that he pokes her. And she's like, ah, not on my watch. The dad acts like a total dick and he just makes fun of her to the point where she realizes she's not going to get through to him. And she just kind of like lifts up her hands. She goes, it's not even worth it. It's too late. He's not, like, he hasn't got his wits about him kind of a thing. And so she just cuts her losses and she leaves. She is a queen from start to finish. The teeny tiny role that she has, I'm like, can we get a story about the baker? She's a boss. So she leaves. And actually, I should have mentioned that when she comes on, she does bring a witness. So somebody who watched this all happen. So when she leaves as well, she takes that witness with her. It's like this philosopher that she has with her. So she's a very smart woman too. Okay, she doesn't just show up and say this man did this. She's like, this happened. This man watched it happen. Again, we're obsessed with her. Anyways, my fangirling aside, when she leaves, we then have a citizen come on. He's got a bandaged head and he comes up to the dad and he says that he's going to charge him for assault and battery. So this has been quite the evening for the dad, okay? He has been busy. He is a violent drunk. He's not a fun drunk. We've got past that point. Don't we all know of this person? I mean, really, he is not somebody that you want on a night out whatsoever. The bandaged guy has also brought a witness. He's brought his friend. And much like with the baker, the dad just kind of starts insulting him and he insults the friend as well. And so then the two of them again cut their losses and they exit the stage. But the whole point of this is that we see how much damage he has caused from this one night out. His son, completely fed up. Okay, he sends his dad inside for a timeout. He doesn't literally say go in for a timeout, but in my head, that's essentially where he's gotten to. He says, get inside. I've had enough of this. This is ridiculous. It was supposed to be a fun night. Just get to bed. So he ends up kind of half carrying his dad inside, and the chorus are left on stage. They actually praise the son and say that he's had really good sense about him and he's handled the whole situation very, very well. So that's nice, at the very least. But after the chorus sing this, we then have Xanthias come outside. He, opens the front door of the house, comes out, he's exhausted, and he tells the chorus and he tells us that, oh my God, the old man is still dancing inside. We can hear like a ruckus kind of happening back there, but he's like, it's non-stop. Like, he won't go to bed. We cannot handle this man whatsoever. This poor slave is on like babysitting duty the entirety of this play. And actually, as he's saying this, we then have the old man come out of the house and he's in the most ridiculous costume, you guys. He's dressed as a tragic dancer and he starts doing this like ludicrous interpretive dance to the point where Xanthias is like, hey, you need to be careful. Like, you're really old and like all of this kind of stuff. Like, can you slow down a little bit? And as he's dancing, we then have two slaves that have been forced to dress up like crabs. And they come out and he's like banging them on their like shells, sort of doing music. It's honestly a bit like Stomp here, but it's more so like a ludicrous child, like, in Love Actually, when the kid dresses up as, the lobster or the octopus or whatever it is in the nativity. That's how I'm picturing it, but like with Stomp together in one. That's what this scene is like. So you've got the crabs that are then dancing and the dad decides that they're going to have like a dance off because now there's like a family of crabs and they're all on stage. So he decides they're all going to have a dance off. And the last person to dance in this dance off is the dad. Okay, so the dad is dancing and as they're dancing, the chorus are on stage and the crabs leave off stage. And the chorus say their final little, speech to the audience as this solo performance that the dad is giving because he's still really drunk is going on. And what they say as the final chunk of the play, the final address to the audience is, ye sons of him who rules the waves and brothers of the prawn, come where the barren sea still laves, the sands where you were born. O whirl and twist upon the beach, rotate with supple ease. Then stand upright and try to reach your stomachs with your knees. Now kick straight upwards from the hips. as Phrynichus might try, and draw from each spectator's lips a complimentary sigh. But crawling from the ocean deep, its lord, their father, scuttles, to watch his offspring gambol, leap, and whirl like spinning shuttles. The time has come to end our play, but you dance off before us. And this, at least, it's safe to say, no comic poet till today has hit on such a clever way of leading off his chorus. And the chorus march out and leave the dad on stage to finish his dance. And that, guys, is the end of Wasps. I don't know if you guys were expecting that. I always find it funny to explain Aristophanes because it is so wacky and it is such a good time, but it's so different from tragedy. And I feel like most people start by reading these Greek tragedies that when they come to the comedy stuff, they're always like, what? It's a completely different art form. It's a completely different way of telling jokes. If you guys want any more of those specific jokes, or if you want any more analysis, I've left some links in the description below. You guys can read the play for free online if you guys want to. But of course, if you buy the physical copy, like the translation that I have, you can find all of the notes to why the jokes would have been funny and all of that kind of stuff from the translator themselves in the back. So you are getting a benefit from buying the book as opposed to reading it online. But if you have enough of a base in ancient Greek society and culture and all of those sorts of things, you'll be able to get them as you read along. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll be seeing you next time with more plays of Aristophanes here on MoAn Inc. I'll see you guys then.